Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Shrek YT here, and back with another brand new Minecraft block palettes video. And without further ado, guys, let's just jump right into our first block palette. So jumping straight into our first palette, we have a very structural style build. Kind of plain in a way, but when I'm thinking of a build like this, it's typically focused on the architecture within it, not the super, I guess, detailed pieces of it. So looking at the actual palette, you guys can definitely see, before we even name all the blocks, what I kind of did with this palette. We chose basically three-ish colors, as we chose some brown, we chose greenish, and then grayish, and that's pretty much it. And then we use different blocks that make up those different colors. So the blocks we have are the endstone bricks, we have the new beehive that's in 115, we have the stripped spruce wood, great texture, that stripped texture. We've got the spruce planks, we've got the green terracotta, we've got mossy cobble, we've got dead coral, which actually works really well as like almost another form of cobblestone. We've got the prismarine, and then we've got ourselves a trap door. Now looking at the actual build, you guys can see one thing that I did, and this is a very good building technique. It's that when designing palettes and builds, is you need to make sure that you separate almost the ground from the build itself. So basically have a palette for the build itself. So you guys can see we use the endstone, the spruce, and the prismarine, and then on the ground we used a completely separate palette which was made up of greens and grays to really give the ground a nice effect. So I think a lot of newer builders forget to actually detail the ground around because they just don't think about it, and if you don't do that, it's something that you're kind of lacking in a build, and without doing it, it makes it look a less cooler. So as for the build itself, it was gonna be some form of like a mansion or something like that, but obviously in these block palettes, it's not really about the build, it's more about the blocks that are within it, and I want to give you guys good ideas of blocks that work well together so you guys can take that into your builds and build amazing looking things. So moving over to our next build, I really wanted to focus on some form of a snowy biome build while also trying to mix in 1.14/1.15 blocks, and in this one we mixed in the dead coral blocks. I want to focus on this for a second. You guys can see we have two different kind of dead corals, and you can see in total there's actually 5 in your inventory when you grab them, and I really like these blocks because they're almost like, if we were to grab a piece of cobblestone, they're almost like the same texture as the cobblestone, but they're almost like a flat / matte version of it, and it kind of allows you to build in different climates with these blocks. And it also works really well with other blocks already in the game. So if I were to match up a cobblestone next to the coral blocks, you can see not really the same shade of gray, kind of a little bit off, but if I put the gravel next to it, they're almost identical in shade. So it's just a really nice block that has a dual purpose. So when you bring it into a, I guess, winter biome, it works really great on the ground as a path because everything's a little bit toned back. It's kind of more flat colored because really I'm thinking of just mainly whites and ice colors. So blues and whites in a like winter biome. And then we put ourselves a little TP in the center. We texturize that by using a mixture of terracotta and concrete blocks. And then we try to mix in some 1.14 blocks, which are these barrels right here, and you just put a trapdoor on top of them to cover the texture on the top because that's not the nicest looking texture. And then you also have yourself a campfire right here, which also looks really nice in a campsite. Now I'm not exactly sure if the blue ice is a block that's from 1.14. I want to say it is because I don't remember it in 1.12. It could be a 1.13 block, which I don't think it is, but it works really nice to have another block in the ice category because, you know, we've only had packed ice in for quite a while now. To add another one in there, kind of like in between the normal ice and the packed ice, it's just another block that allows you to detail a little bit further and makes this whole palette come together a little bit nicer. So I'll run you through really quick what we got. We've got snow, we've got the barrel, we've got our 2 dead corals, we've got our terracotta and our concrete, and then we've got our 3 ices right here. And those are the blocks that make up this palette. So moving over to our next one, we will jump straight into what we used for the palette before we look at the build. So we've got ourselves coarse dirt, we've got some spruce planks, we've got ourselves 3 different types of these stripped log textures. So we've got the normal oak, we've got the spruce, and we've got the dark oak, and then we got ourselves the campfire, which I'll show you in a second, has a really cool building technique in here. We've got ourselves red and green terracotta. We've got ourselves, I think it's dark oak leaves, and then we got ourselves some oak planks, and then we've got ourselves the path block. And without missing out on it, we've also got the beehive up here. So quickly looking at the beehive, this is a 1.15 thing they just added, and I think it's a wonderful addition to the game. Now, I don't know how it's going to play in survival with the addition of bees, because typically I don't really play much survival. I just focus mainly on building things in creative and really offering nice building tips. But what I like about the beehive in the game is now it gives you another block that you can add to trees. You know, it adds some color. Really all we had before was cocoa beans, and if you got super creative, you could use the head texture of a player that had like the head of an apple or a fruit of some sort. But now having a generic beehive in the game, it allows you to add some form of color to various trees. And in this case, I just added hanging beehives from the branches of my tree, and it just gives it that little bit of color that it's missing when it's only green. So taking a step back and looking at the whole entire build, we've got ourselves a nice little tree house up here. We put some leaves on top of it to make it feel a little bit more overgrown, and then we kind of made the leaves come down the entire trunk of the tree and just kind of expand into the foliage. What I really like about this tree is I use solely the stripped texture of the log. I don't know why, but I just absolutely love this texture in the game. I probably would have never thought to do it myself, but it just looks so good, and I'm so happy they added it because it's just a nice softer texture than the log texture that's already in the game, and it just makes it easier to look at. It's not as intense, and it really kind of fits with a lot more blocks that are already in the game. And then we went ahead and added ourselves a little dock, and I absolutely love this dock. This is a really nice building technique that I actually found out from Grian, who's a fellow YouTuber that makes building related videos. And what you actually need to do is you need to grab yourselves a campfire, and then you're going to want to go ahead and grab yourself a bucket of water and another empty bucket. So you're going to put the campfire on the ground. It's going to start off being lit, and then you're going to put a bucket of water on top of that, and then you're going to want to go ahead and you take that water away, and it leaves behind this texture or this log like thing, which almost simulates like a log bridge, and that's why we're able to use it in the dock right here. And then we put ourselves some fences underneath, and what's really nice is now in the newer updates, water flows through fences, so it doesn't have that awkward air gap down there. So it makes a really nice dock when you go ahead and use campfires for it, and I just love that. It's a 1.14 building technique that I absolutely love. And moving on to our last block palette, I wanted to get something very different. I kind of built like a church thing here, but I wanted to make it so it wasn't all stone because I found that to be kind of like a beginner style palette. You know, when you think of like a church or something like that, you typically think of stones. So I wanted to mix in some form of color, whether it be just a tan or some form of tan, like this orange right here. It is a different color than all of the gray, and it really makes the build look a little bit better. So looking at the actual block palette down here, we've got ourselves coarse dirt, we've got ourselves the gravel, we've got ourselves some stone bricks, some andesite, we've got ourselves cracked stone bricks, some more polished andesite, we've got ourselves red sandstone, we've got ourselves orange concrete powder, we've got the oak stripped log, we've got the oak planks, the spruce planks, and then we've got two different blocks down here that honestly, I don't really know what they do, but I think the tops of them are really cool. So we've got the, I guess, what is this called? A smithing table? No idea what that does. And then a blasting furnace. So I have no idea what those blocks do, but they look really cool on the top of them, so they work kind of well for a nice little bit of a unique path that kind of steps out using the gravels and coarse dirts. It just mixes it up a little bit, adds a new unique style to the build, and then makes it look a little bit better because it is a unique build. And then we tried to work in the beehive, and I actually really like the beehive in the game. It's one of those blocks that it's got three sides that are all the same and one side that's different. So if I were to take it out here, you can see that the front of the beehive is a little bit different, but what's nice about it is it works really well with just about anything. You know, from the back of it, I would not be able to tell you that this is a beehive. You almost see that it's got like a brick style texture on the bottom and then just a really nice texture on the top, and it's just such a nice soft tan color that it works really well with pretty much every single block in the game. And in this instance, we tried to make ourselves a little bit of a bush decoration. This I actually got again from Green. He makes some amazing techniques when it comes to building like small furnitures and small detailed things, and I got this from him. It's using a cactus and some leaves on top of that. It just looks really cool, and it's really simple, but it makes it look so elegant. And then I threw on some trapdoors on the back because I did want to cover up this one side because it was different than the rest, but I think it just looks really cool. Then we added ourselves the trapdoor fence around the side. I don't play enough of the newer versions of Minecraft, so all these cool little techniques that you can do, such as with the trapdoors when they don't really have to be attached to any block now, I miss out on those. So I really need to start playing some newer versions of Minecraft, and maybe 1.14 and 1.15 are the additions that I kind of get into heavily. So looking back at the actual build, the roof over here is actually really cool. We used red sandstone stairs for it, and I think it looks really nice instead of using the acacia log texture. I just think it looks really cool because it's a nice orange, but it's a really soft orange, so it works really well with this spruce texture right next door. And then as far as the walls of the steeple or church go, we actually used the stripped oak and the oak planks together because they're so close in color that from afar, you know, they kind of blend together, but they add a nice little bit of detail between the two. And if you just kind of randomize the pattern, fill in some stairs here and there to add a little bit of depth, it looks really cool from afar. And then you can kind of see the cross in the background with the orange concrete powder in the background, which is also sort of a version of tan, so it looks really cool and it's not too much of a standout. And then on the walls on the side, we also detailed all of the stone by adding in different colors of gray and different blocks that make up gray blocks, just to kind of make the wall look a little bit less flat. So if you were to come around to the back, you guys can see I just filled this in. This is what the wall would have looked like if I hadn't detailed it. It would have been this really bland stone, but when you come around to this side, you can see that we turned this really boring flat wall into something really intriguing by just adding different versions of stone blocks. It just makes it look so much cooler. So guys, that is where we're going to bring today's video to a wrap. I hope you guys did enjoy today's ballot videos, and I hope you guys thought the ideas where I mixed in these new 1.15 blocks were good. I haven't really played around with them too much other than building in this video, so I look forward to trying to see what you can do with these blocks in coming, I guess, videos and builds and stuff like that. And I would love to hear what you guys have experimented with when using these new blocks in Minecraft. I hope that all of these block palettes gave you guys a little bit of an idea of different blocks that go really well together, and you guys can implement those into your Minecraft builds. But guys, if you haven't seen any of my other block palette videos, I will leave them down in the description down below, as well as this will be in a playlist, so you guys can go back and check out those videos because there are some awesome block palettes in there that I think some of you guys would really benefit from looking at. But guys, if you guys enjoyed today's video, make sure to show your support down below, and while you're down there guys, might as well hit that subscribe button. But as always guys, I love you all, see you guys next time, peace out.